Hey, I'm Katie the Real Estate Gal in Denver Metro, Colorado, and today we are talking about what a sewer scope is and why you should add it on to the inspection process. So during the home buying process, the buyer has the option to add on certain items to the inspection. Now, an inspection is voluntary, but regardless of if it's a new build or an older home or has been sitting for 5 years, I would always recommend an inspection because there can always be something wrong with the home or things that aren't visibly seen, such as the roof. Not a lot of home buyers will go up on the roof to make sure it's okay. They'll hire a professional in order to do that. So with the inspection process, it's typically about $300 to $500 depending on the company that you go with. And then there is a list of add-on items that you can do in order to have a better idea and a bigger scope of what is going on with the home. Some of those items would be mold testing, lead-based paint testing, asbestos, there's radon, and I have done a video on radon and why it's an important add-on. So radon is one thing I would always recommend adding on to a home inspection. The second one is a sewer scope. So what it is from the home, there's going to be a sewer line from the home to the street. Now that piping, which is it's underground, roughly about 3 feet or so, and sometimes it's 2 feet, sometimes it's 4 feet, but there is this piping and it can be made out of PVC pipe, galvanized steel, copper, clay. There's a lot of different materials that it can be made out of, and what the inspector will do is take a tiny little camera that is attached to kind of like wiring, and they will thread it down the sewer line to the street to make sure that there isn't any damage to the sewer line. Now this add-on cost is roughly $100 to $150 depending on the company, and if you add on enough items, sometimes they'll give you a discount, so that's always something to either ask for or keep an eye out for as well. The entire inspection process for my home that I purchased, which was built in 1916, was the inspection, the radon, and then the sewer scope. The total for me was $700. So just to kind of give you a rough idea. Now, of course, depends on the company you go with and how many add-on items or whatnot that you do. So with the sewer scope, they will record what they see when they're going down the line, and depending on the company, you actually might even get that recording. So what they're doing is measuring how far out, if there is any damage, how far out that is. So a couple things that can go wrong with the sewer inspection, if you will, is a lot of the materials that I see sewer lines made out of in Colorado are clay. And I have a whole list of different things that, what a sewer line should look like, different materials, the thickness of it. So if you would like a copy of this or have any questions, I'm happy to answer those for you. For example, the sewer line, like I mentioned, a lot of them are made out of clay. From the mid-1800s to 1980s, clay was used. So in a lot of older homes, you can anticipate that your sewer line is made of clay. Now, some things that can go wrong with clay are there can be cracks in the clay, which can lead to leakage and just a huge catastrophe if water starts pooling or there's something wrong or something goes wrong, there's a backup. So cracks in the clay is something to be aware of. Another thing is root intrusion. So tree roots can essentially grow through the line, create blockage, and then back up water into the house, and that just is not a fun scenario. So the fix for sewer lines, if you do have a crack or a root intrusion or the piping needs to be replaced because it's rusted or whatever, the fix for a sewer line can be up to $10,000. So think about it. If you spend $100 to $150 for the sewer scope and you find out that you're in the clear, great. If you find out that there are 3 cracks in the sewer line, you want those replaced, of course, because $10,000 fix a couple years down the line, or maybe even a week after you move in, definitely not ideal. So I'm always going to recommend a sewer scope. Now, I am not an expert in what type of materials should be used or replacement type of items. I lean on the inspector for that, or a professional, a plumber, that can replace those types of lines. Now, another thing that could go wrong that actually happened with a recent transaction for one of my buyers is they did the sewer scope they had a 90-degree angle, and actually it was a 110-degree angle. It was supposed to be a 90-degree angle so that when a toilet was flushed, all of the water was pushed out of the home to the sewer. Now, this angle was actually 110 degrees, and so it was going up a little bit, and what that meant was the water was just sitting. You never want water just to sit. You want it completely out. So that was another problem. And then the last problem that I'll mention that has happened to a cellar of mine is they had a belly in the line. Now, if you can imagine a 4-inch wide pipe, the belly is just kind of, it goes a little bit below, and again, water just sits there. So it makes the pipe seem a little bit wider, but it's not good because, debris can get caught in there as well. So one of the recommendations was, because it was so far away from the home, the sellers didn't want to fix it. The advice from the inspector was just don't put grease down the sink, and you should be good. But we are going to recommend that maybe once a year, once every 2 years, you get your line serviced and you get it flushed out. So you don't necessarily have to be buying a house in order to have a sewer scope. I did have a seller that did a sewer scope himself, just to make sure that everything was good to go and that the people that will be buying his home were kind of in the clear. That is, like I said, an additional cost. So it was about $150 for him to do that sewer scope, but then he is just more prepared with when the buyers put in an offer on the home and do the inspection. He already knows what's going on. So please let me know if you have any questions on the inspection process with home buying. I am Katie, the real estate gal. I am a licensed realtor in the state of Colorado. So please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions on the selling process, the buying process, you want to talk about how the market is, or any questions in between. I'm more than happy to help. Thanks so much for watching.